everyone. Welcome to Capital Vintage Charm School. Today we have Dorothy Collier from Dorothy Art, and Dorothy is going to give us a tutorial on identifying artwork, and I am so excited about this. Dorothy, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me, Stacy. This is going to be fun.
So Dorothy is an artist. If you don't follow her on Instagram, and her handle is going to be down here, so no excuses. You have to go follow her now. And she does the coolest ginger jar. What were what were you doing? How were you laying them backward? What was that thing that you released?
I called that the Rorschach print because I was a psychology major as well as an art major, and I loved just the symmetry of the ginger jar. And so basically, if you go to my Instagram, it's at Dorothy Art, DOROTHY. Yeah, there's videos of me, like, I just basically painted half of it and squeezed out the paint from the tube, kind of, and then made the print. So when you unfold it, it's kind of like a Rorschach.
It was so cool. And did you do the same with Staffordshire dogs?
Yeah, I have a couple of those left on my shop, dorothyart.com. So yeah, so I mix media art. Those were acrylics. I do lots of oil paintings as well. I've got some chinoiserie vases on my easel right now, and that's a new series that's coming up. Let's see. But yeah, so I take the inspiration from growing up in my grandmother's two antique shops. And so in Nashville, Tennessee, one was named after my mother, Streeter Spencer Antiques. It closed in the 90s, but the school bus dropped me off there. And so I grew up, like playing hide and seek underneath Chippendale chairs and stuff like that. And then the other antique shop was in Greenwood, Mississippi, where my grandparents lived in the Mississippi Delta. So the good coating of Southern stuff all around. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So taking like I feel very blessed to have like the entrepreneurial selling spirit of my mom and my mother. And the antiques.
The perfect mix, right?
Yeah, totally. And recently, if you follow me, if you love all these vintage finds and everything, I've started doing this thing on my Instagram stories called Yay or Nay.
This is so fun. So explain this really quick before we get started on the art stuff, because I think
today we're totally going to talk all about seeing what type of art there are in the antique malls and in the estate sales and all that jazz. But first, I want to share with you like my excitement for what I've been doing in stories, so you can follow along and play along too. So it all started with me just going into an antique mall and showing my art viewers on Instagram. That's mostly people follow me for my art. I was like, okay, well, I'm inspired by the stuff that I find in the antique mall. So yay or nay things, just I'm showing you what I like. Click if you like it too. And people weren't just saying yay or nay on the buttons. They were messaging me and saying, what's your PayPal? Will you buy that for me? Will you ship it to me? And it got to the point where I was like, oh no, I want these things for myself. But yeah, what do you want to pay for it? And so friends, strangers were like giving me their PayPal. I was like, oh my goodness. Okay, great. So we started like a bidding thing. Like, you don't have to bid. You can just watch and see what I find. But if you do love it, you can put in your best bid in the bid box. And it's just a 24-hour thing with the Instagram stories. And yeah, if you're the winner, I'll ship it to you, or I'll have it on my porch ready for pickup if you're local to Memphis.
So fun. And it's such a smart way to show everybody all the different things that these like collections have, like the antique malls and stuff that you visit. Dorothy, I think it is so much fun.
It's been great, and it's also eye-opening to me because people like us, we love this stuff. We will eat it up all day long. Like, we love the dive, we love the hunt. But I've learned through this, lots of people don't. Lots of people want it totally curated for them. And that's why people hire interior designers and things, which is like, duh, Dorothy. But yeah, so many of my friends and acquaintances are loving this because I'm kind of like their personal vintage shopper. So they're not, lots of my friends are also saying like, oh, antique malls overwhelm me because there's so much crap. And, you know, so yeah, so if you get overwhelmed by the antique malls, just follow all my stories and I will ship the pretty things that I find to you.
Well, and you have stuff on your website, which I can attest to are so great. She's the best eye. I actually just bought something from her that I'm going to link in the stories here so y'all can see it. So
yeah, today we're going to talk about art.
Okay, Dorothy, I probably list everything incorrectly in my Etsy store and Cherish store. This is one of the things that trips me up the most. So I'm very excited to get some insight today.
Okay, so the first things first, let's see, I've got my list here. So the first one is, can you see or feel the texture of paint?
Okay.
And so most of the time, if you can see or feel texture, that is like 3D-ness coming off of the canvas or the paper, then it's going to be an original. The only time that it's not is when it's a fake, but those are called like a print of a painting that is on canvas and has texture, but it's not original. That's going to be called a giclée. A giclée is a print on canvas. And then on top of that, hand-embellished giclée is where, let's see, I'm an artist, I take a picture of my painting, then I send it off to the printer, and they print it on canvas. That's just the giclée. Then, if I want to hand embellish it, it comes back from the printer. I whip up a couple of my paints, add a couple of strokes to make the paint pop off the canvas so that to the layman's eye, it looks original, but it's not. It's just got 5 big brush strokes of paint, but if you look closer, it's a print behind it. Does that make sense?
Can I ask you a quick question on that? Sure. Would most of like the mass produced things, like let's say we're buying something at Target, would that be an example of something like that?
I didn't even want to say the Target or Hobby Lobby, or down here in the South there's Kirkland's, and I've licensed my artwork to those stores, and that's what they do. Okay. They are buying the image of an original from an artist, printing it off 10,000 times, and someone in China their whole entire job is to paint one white stroke in the corner, and the next girl's job is to paint one purple stroke in a V shape or whatever, that's what they're doing. So yeah, things, okay. If it's got a little bit of 3D-ness, just go to the TJ Maxx and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Okay. So if I look really close, would I be able to see I don't know how to ask this, the canvas, let's say it's canvas, the canvas dots?
Yes, exactly. That's one of the next tips, is that you are going to, and I can hop to that tip. The number one is like under a magnifying glass, and sometimes it's not going to take a magnifying glass. You can like look and see, are there dots? And if there's dots, it's a print. This is an original oil painting. It's in the Impressionist style. It does not have a signature, but how I know it's original is it's even got paint. It's got paint like can you see this? Okay, the canvas side of it is not a straight line. So like where the paint ends, it's not straight. So that lets me know that I've got paint on the edges here and I've got some paint on the wood. And so that lets you know that it was painted.
You are blowing my mind. That is
Well, maybe we'll see. And so, and also like I see strokes. That's a big thing of paint. The way that I'm touching it, you shouldn't be touching it this way because the oils of our hands translate onto the oil of the paint, and then it does a scientific little chemical reaction thing that is over my head. But you know, don't touch. Okay. Something like this. Well, this one's a dead giveaway for a lot of reasons, but clear edge meaning it's pretty perfect.
right.
Is there a lip around the image? Same thing. So like this goes, like the ink goes in and out a little bit. So that's where it's trying to look like an original, but it's giving you,
The
yeah, the irregularness. And so lip meaning the white as well on the piece of paper. So it's not flush with the whole entire piece of paper.
okay.
Is there an edition number on the artwork? And so this one is a limited edition. This artist did 50 of these, and I bought the 19th.
And that tells you it's an original.
No, that tells you it's a print.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, so he made 50 prints of this, and I bought the 19th one.
Huh.
So some people have, like, some artists have open edition prints, and that's where they don't care if it's, you know, like I've got some filler art that you can buy, like an 8x10 print of my stuff on my shop, and it is drop shipped from a printer, and it's like $50, and those are open edition prints. I don't care how many I sell.
So as an artist, you would never number a painting. You're only
You wouldn't number a paint unless it's like a painting in a series.
okay.
So say for this upcoming chinoiserie paint series, that series is going, series just meaning it's a body of work. I've got one huge one, 2 medium ones, and then 6 very small 6x6s. So that's 9 paintings in this upcoming body of work. And the small 6x6s, I might number those because, but it wouldn't be like 1 out of 6. It would just be like Sunny Florals 1, Sunny Florals 2, Sunny Florals 3.
Okay.
So that would make you know that there are others out there like it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, fun. Okay.
So yeah, so if it's got a number, that means it's a limited edition. And that can be a good, like, this is a low edition number. This means that there's only 50 out there. So I feel pretty special just to have, he was this double decker as an art festival in Oxford, Mississippi. I went to Ole Miss, and I had booths in the double decker festival all the time. And he was the featured artist that year. And so 50 is pretty good for a low number, but I mean, there's some that have, like, you know, out of 1,000. So that lets you know that it's not as special. Okay, is
specialness in buying an early piece? So like, let's say it's 1,000 and you have 2 out of 1,000. Does that?
Yeah, I think that I personally, and some people, there's a debate, but I think that is cooler if you have a lower number. because you don't know, you know how many they made, you don't know how many they sold.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
Is the artist's signature printed or hand signed?
How do you know?
So again, like looking up close with a microscope, um, if it's printed, then it's going to have the dots as well within it. It's going to be uniform. There's not going to be, it's not going to be a true signature. And then on top of that, if it is a print, sometimes there's two signatures on there. So meaning that like the artist put the signature digitally in with the print or in with the lithograph, or they signed their print and then printed the signature. And then if they matted it, then this like a real signature is underneath.
Oh.
That could be a giveaway too, that like your print is a little more special because it might have the artist's second like real signature.
Oh.
So this can go a lot of different ways, as you can tell. So, and that's the joys of knowing about the art world, is that artists make up their own rules, and there is really no right or wrong way. Like, yes, there's art school and how you're supposed to be doing these things, but artists break the rules
Sure.
and like, do what they want.
True. So I think sometimes signatures trick me up where I can't read them or I can't figure out. It's just, it's a signature. It's like an S in scribbles.
Yeah.
Do you have resources that would help us identify who the artist is, or do you have any thoughts on that?
Let's see. I don't know. I think my initial is best of luck.
Right. Yeah.
Again, I think that you could do that Pinterest trick. Here's one. This week at the beginning of the week, oh, I've got my rainbow wheel somewhere. Sorry, my computer. Let's make sure that's not there. At the beginning of the week, I found a McCarty piece of pottery, and you being originally from Baton Rouge, you might know who that is. Don't know if you do. McCarty is a famous family in the Mississippi Delta and in Marigold, Mississippi, and they make this stunning pottery from Mississippi mud, from the riverbanks, pulled from the riverbanks of the Mississippi River. And they've got only two glazes. I should know the names of these, but they've got the brown glaze and the turquoise. It's basically, and then is there another one? There's white.
Okay.
I think. But so anyway, so I was in an antique mall or a little antique shop in Olive Branch, Mississippi. It's like on the state line on Tuesday. And I walk in, and on the floor in the corner is a candle plate, and it's like 12 or 18 inches around, and it's got these three doves or birds around it. And it was a darker brown than the McCarty that I collect. So meaning that at first, if my initial question is like, okay, this is either really old McCarty from like the 70s or 80s, or this is like a knockoff, like another Mississippi potter trying to make something.
Oh.
It's not, because like it looked a little bit more fired than all this, like lots of the McCarty pottery that I usually see. And so, or that I have. And so I flipped it over, and it had the McCarty signature like right on it. It was such a dead giveaway. And that's how I knew that. I was like, okay, this is definitely it. So I know what the McCarty signature looks like. So if you start to, collect some things, especially like your local artists, that's what I would know. If it were up to me, I would be aware of what you do like. Like if you find something and you buy it and you like it, take note of the signature so that you'll be able to find it at another estate sale. And that's going to happen for your local art. Like once, and that's probably what you got to fight the other vintage lovers
Or
out there for, is those famous artists of like 20, 30 years ago in your area. And, you
yeah,
know, all the time people are passing away and their kids don't want this stunning art.
it's so sad.
Um, okay, we talked about this one. Tip number 7, can you see a dot pattern under magnification? If you can see a dot pattern, that means the ink has been dropped.
Okay.
And that means that it's a print, hands down.
That is so helpful.
Uh-huh. And then, this is my favorite one, it's the last one. What does the internet tell you? Do you know about the Pinterest trick? And it's probably like, I think that this is cool and everyone probably already knows about it.
What is
But
it?
so my Pinterest trick is when I'm looking for something, like I have something, I found something in an antique mall and I don't know what it is. My first thing that I do is I go into Pinterest and I go into the search bar and there's a camera in the search bar and you take a picture of what you have in front of you
I did
and
not
see
know
if
this.
something like it comes up. Okay. You know what it would definitely work for? It would definitely work for if you are at an estate sale, you think something is awesome, and then you see that like, oh, that's a reproduction of uh the Mona Lisa or something.
Right.
It's gonna definitely tell you that. And that might be a good thing too. If you don't see what it definitely is on Pinterest, then like it could be an original.
That's true.
You
Okay.
can also figure out the age of lots of paintings by the age of the staple. Just by like, if it's shiny, it's
Ah.
it's not gonna be old. You know, if it's gonna give you tetanus, then there you go.
Such a good, I mean, I would have never thought to look at the staples.
Yeah, so look at staples too. And the frame is gonna tell you a lot as well. Lots of things were like reframed in the 40s and 50s and 60s and tacky, but if it's aged, if it has like metal wire instead of like the wire that they make now, is a lot like, this is wire from like the 90s. I can tell this big, well, this isn't one of my mom's paintings, but anyway, yeah, the wire that they make now is like sometimes has plastic coating and is nice and all that. If it's aged and gonna like rub off on your fingers, it's older.
Oh my gosh, so smart.
So if it looks old, if it feels old, if it makes you feel dirty touching it, it probably is. Um, okay, so this is panel, and that's just the artist's choice. So that doesn't necessarily like degrade the value or anything just because it's panel. But that's original as well. These are both oil paintings. I was looking around. I don't really have that many acrylic paintings, but the way that you can tell with oil, generally speaking, is that oil is going to have like a sheen to it. It's going to be a little bit glossier, whereas acrylic dries and mostly in a matte finish. And
Uh,
if an acrylic is shiny, that means that they probably sprayed it or put like a medium on top of it. So if it's just kind of naturally shiny and has like a little bit of a sheen to it, That's generally going to be oil. We're still talking originals here.
So would I be able to feel an acrylic as well?
Yeah, so this is like my contemporary artist friend Meredith Wilson in Memphis, and she does this is mixed media because she has like pieces of paper behind that she's painted atop. But this is acrylic. It is shiny, but it's more one color, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's more of like a matte, whereas this is, it's more flat and graphic. Not flat in a bad way, but
So
it's
the
it
oil,
doesn't have the range of the oils.
would
If
it
that
be
makes
dimensional on an oil shiny?
It can be. That's where the texture can get tricky because that's like an artist's preference. Some people love thick paint, like the Impressionism era, they had lots of thick, loose strokes. And then the more like classic and the more, well, I can't think of the word I'm trying to say, but the more like photographic,
Yeah.
that's generally where you'll have less visual textural strokes.
Okay.
Okay, so that was oil versus acrylic paint. Okay, so this is a watercolor. This is actually like pen and ink. This is my friend Whitney Winkler. She is a wonderful artist here in Memphis, Tennessee. And if you can tell, you can't tell because the camera is far away, but there are watermarks, but you can tell that there's teeny tiny little where she has the ink lines. It's like dots of the ink.
And that's how you know it's
Mm-hmm.
a print that she's painted over.
Right. So yeah, so it's all, so this is a print. So the original would have more of like the watercolor look, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
you would see the whitest whites of the paper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that is one example of that.
Is a lithograph a printing technique?
Yeah, so that's where it's going to be like a little bit more special than another type of print.
Okay.
Because, well, that's one of the many ways that they used to print in the old days. So like the artists would sketch or dig into the metal itself. And then this is where like I obviously did not take that art class. I should have signed up for that class, the printmaking class. But they would have taught those art students that this is the old antique way of doing it, and you're making lithograph prints where you're actually digging into the metal. And then they're putting the ink inside of where the artist dug. And so like it's basically like a stone. And yeah, I guess it wouldn't be metal, it would be a stone. Lithography is stone. And so like they were digging into the stone and then I guess putting the ink inside of the grooves that they made, wiping away on the top of the stone so that that ink is still there in the inside, and then placing the paper on top. Does that make sense?
Totally. That totally makes sense. So what would be the difference between a lithograph and an etching?
So etching is made from, that's where I'm just slipped up. Etching is from metal. Lithograph is from stone.
So if I have a piece of art that I'm looking at and I know it's a print, is there some way that I can look at it and say this is a lithograph versus an etching? Or I would just say it's a print and be done with it.
Yes, etching is not going to have dots.
Okay.
Lithograph is going to have random dot pattern.
Oh.
So etching won't have dots. Lithograph will have a random dot pattern.
Sometimes I look at a piece that is old and I get tripped up because I can't tell if it's a drawing or an etching.
That's where we should all get our magnifying glasses.
Okay.
And if it's a drawing, it's going to have you'll be able to see like the pressure where like if there was a thick line, it would be heavier, right? Just think about like when you're teaching your kid how to write and they're like, that line is going to be heavier and thicker and then it's going to thin out.
But it would not be necessarily the case on an etching.
Yeah, an etching, it's going to look like the weight is all just the same because it's all pressed at the same.
That makes perfect sense. Oh my gosh, that is like groundbreaking to me. Truly.
I don't know. And also, I'm not the expert in this sense. In the old antique print world, I don't have a lot of a collection myself. But now that we're talking about it, I'm gonna be taking note of everything that I see at the antique malls now. This is interesting. I only bought this at the antique mall because I like the frame, and I'm gonna paint over this. I'm gonna take this off and paint something for myself, like Dorothy art, and sell it. But this is interesting. I think that like the first mass-produced things are pretty intriguing to me. So I don't know when, but Regal Art Co. on 3042 Lawrence Avenue in Chicago. So they made these type of like Florentine and old antique. I don't know if they didn't do this one, but they made frames. And then this, I love this. This is like the first of the copyright. Like there's a copyright in the corner.
Wow.
So this is not like, I don't think that this is worth anything. You can buy them on eBay for like $20. But I think that's very interesting that like this is the first of the mass produced.
Is that an actual frame? Like, could you rip the back out and put a new picture in it?
No, this is just a panel. They were known for like they call them the gesso panels because they use gesso glue to just slap a print on. And so if you go to this Regal Art Co. and search that, you can see all of the different frames that they mass produced.
That is so cool.
That's a true example of like, this is definitely a reproduction. Like I think this might be like a famous photograph or whatever. And anyway, so I thought that was interesting of like how, this is like the start of the mass produced stuff. And it might be special to some. You can buy it for $20 on eBay. So that's why I don't feel bad painting over it, because like if you walk into an antique mall, you can find 50 of these.
They're so pretty. I wish you could use them as regular frames.
I know. Yeah, but like if you could use them as regular frames, like you could do exactly what this company did, and someone on here is probably going, "Oh my gosh, no, don't do that." But if I would, what I'm going to do with my art, I'm going to like essentially gesso Mod Podge it something else on.
That's true. It's kind of like the OG Mod Podge, isn't it?
Totally. Yeah, exactly. So if you wanted to have, a collection of like pictures of, if you could do it with a print that you like, and then that's where I do look, I got this at an antique mall for $28. That's where I do like buying old frames and putting my new art in it and selling it, or framing something that I have at home, like a family photo or a print of another artist that I like. But yeah, the old frames are really fun. I think that's where it gets interesting. And like, as you can tell, like you can see how old this wire is
Yeah.
that I was talking about earlier with the wire. And the nails, like those look scary. So old.
That completely inspired me. So every year I get my kids, I get their silhouettes done. It's
Yeah.
old, um, this guy has this family tradition. It's been in his family forever, and he takes the scissors and he looks at your kid and cuts them. It's so fun. And I've been using plate frames,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
circle wood plate frames, and I've just been getting glass cut and putting it in there for my son. And now with my daughter, I got her first one done this year, and I was like, I want something that's different, for each of them. So I'm going to start looking for those frames for my daughter. So on the wall, you can instantly know.
Yeah, that's cute. I might, you know what? I might put Johnny's. That was a Mother's Day thing, that like one of the 18 things that their teachers made for us. So sweet, is a silhouette of him. And so I think I might put him in that. And that, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to find like a really cool fabric, or very modern fabric, or wallpaper or something, and put it on the background. So that'll play with the antique, but the modern. That'd be fun.
Wait to see you finish that project.
I can't wait. I've got a million projects. I don't know why I keep up. Why'd you make me think of something else, Stacey?
I have a whole room that I just like get to when I have time, because I just never have time. So, it just stays junked up. Dorothy, that was awesome. So if you have a quick minute, I have a couple of questions that I'd love to ask everybody. It helps us get to know better.
Yeah, totally.
Do you have a China pattern, or do you have a favorite China pattern? Like, did you get one for your wedding that you have, or do you just have like a hand, something from your mom?
Yeah, my China pattern is Marquesa by Lennox. And I think I had a dinner party the other night. And so we ate off of the dinner plates are white. I love the salad plates. They're black.
They're so pretty.
And so, yeah, floral, kind of like the Noir Famille rose.
Do a lot of mixing and matching with them, or do you try to keep them all?
I want to. That's my new quest, is to start finding things that will mix and match. Actually, I found this is, I think, hysterical, because my husband is generally clueless about anything that I add to the house, and he has no idea nor cares. But
Let's keep it that way, for God's sakes, right?
Oh yeah, I'm not complaining. The only rule is that whatever I add to the house, Dorothy Art pays for. So
Capital Vintage Charm does the same thing. Yeah,
which is great. That's wonderful. And so anyway, but yeah, at the antique mall, I found some salad plates with pheasants on them, and yeah, they were awesome. And I think there were like 8 of them maybe, and they matched our pattern perfectly. But I put them up on the yay or nay, and somebody bid for them like way higher than the starting bid. And so I was emotionally okay with letting go of them. But because, I had them for half a day or whatever.
right.
And so I put them on the kitchen island to photograph before I wrapped them up for the buyer. And John passed by and he said, "Oh, that looks like our plates." And he just randomly walked by to the laundry room, and I just stood there like, does he know?
What?
I was like, he knows what our China looks like? I was freaking out. And I was like, yes, it does, but I'm not keeping it. Anyway, so I thought that was hysterical. Yes, Marquesa by Lennox. It's white, and then the salad plates are what sold me, because they were black.
Isn't it funny how like everybody always says, oh gosh, you must have like all of these things around your house? And I'm like, no. A lot of times it's like I don't know. I'm like, well, I would only use them for once a year or something. So I'd rather sell them to somebody who's going to use it all the time. Or,
Yeah.
and I always tell people I'm kind of like a foster parent. I like to
Yeah.
use it for a couple of months and then I'm like,
Uh-huh.
go to a better home. I clean you up. I'll let you look good. And then, I'll send you on your way.
Yeah, that's kind of how I'm feeling. But like with that dinner party, I could not find any napkins at all. And there's a box around here that I just have not unpacked that has all of our linens in it. And it's somewhere. It's
One
probably
day.
like, it's probably up in like where the baby's childhood clothes are supposed to be in the attic or something. I'll find it in 20 years. But yeah, so that is something that like I do want to have a lot of.
Right.
And I also bought a whole new this tie cutlery, and it's a whole set. And I found that at the antique mall, and I did keep that because it was just so unique and so cool. They're like teeny tiny, and the knives were curved. It was really neat. So I did keep that, and I feel like I'm gonna start. Unfortunately slash fortunately, this house is way bigger, so I'll never feel like I need to purge because there's way too many closets.
You're gonna start tucking things away.
Yeah.
So jealous. So you just bought your house. What are you currently on the hunt for? I saw your poolside furniture, which was in
I found this Russell Woodard fiberglass furniture. I didn't even know, like, I think that's what's so fun about this stuff is I know what I want out there. For that example, I knew I wanted mid-century modern pool furniture. I wanted to feel like Palm Springs, bright colors, but I didn't know that that's what I was on the hunt for.
right.
So that's another, like, that's where Facebook Marketplace is just incredible. I Googled mid-century modern pool furniture or patio furniture. And then when we went on a work trip for John in Georgia, I was just, he's at a conference, I'm bored, scrolling on my phone, and Facebook Marketplace told me that on the way home in Alabama, in Huntsville, there's a 3-piece Russell Woodard set. And luckily, the other couple that we were there with, they have a truck. First, I was like, how am I going to get this? I got to convince John that we need a U-Haul on the way back home. And then it dawned on me that they had a truck. So we went 15 minutes out of the way and picked it up, and so exciting. Yeah, so I think that's what's really cool about it is like finding things that you want and then learning all about Russell Woodard furniture.
What is your favorite thing that you found?
Oh my goodness, I have no idea. I think like the last thing that I found is always my favorite. And then I get a new favorite. No, but right now I feel like I'm on the hunt for a lot of big furniture, rugs.
Mhm.
Although that's a silly hunt because the size is going to have to be perfect and that's obnoxious. I'm just going to have to wait patiently on that.
I'm not very good at that.
Yeah. And then let's see. I really, this house is so grand, and I've been fortunate enough to be passed down the antiques from my grandmother's antique shop and like things that my mom didn't want. She remarried someone that has more of a modern taste. And so I luckily lucked out and I've got lots of things, but like, so old house, old furniture, it's going to look grandma really fast and not in a good grandma way, not in a grand millennial way. So I really need to balance it out with some more modern pieces, which is not normally what I do. So I think I need to do that with color and, like the decor pieces.
That's such a good point because I think, we always talk in like we meaning the Instagram world, talk about, the different designs and stuff we have to be, but you really do have to be thoughtful about bringing antiques into an antique house. That is,
Yeah, and like there's some gorgeous curtains
yeah.
downstairs that I need to pull because they were stunning 20, 30 years ago, but it's screaming grandma. And if I, like when you first move into a place and if you don't fix it right away, you're going to feel comfortable with it.
Yeah.
So that's where I am. I'm like, I'm being more mindful that I don't want to be comfortable with those things, but also need to be budget friendly and can't do an entire house.
Could you reuse that curtain fabric for a random pillow, or is it just like super outdated?
Maybe. Maybe. It's like raw silk, bright yellow.
And not very kid friendly.
No, no. Yeah, I think that I need to next steps are to pick a color for the entrance hall and the living room right when you walk in, because it's very like 90s yellow right now. And I need to update it and have it matte. It's on the other side of this is the staircase, so it needs to match the stained glass and the wallpaper on the other side, because we're not re-wallpapering right now.
No, that is so time consuming and expensive. What is the one thing that you didn't buy that haunts you?
Oh goodness. Let's see. I know that there's got to be a couple of good things. Like sofas that come across on Facebook Marketplace. They're all so stunning, and I want to collect and save them all. But then I would just be like a chair graveyard.
What would you prefer to do? An estate sale or a flea market?
Oh, I love flea markets.
Would you rather do a thrift store or an auction?
Uh, a thrift store, I think. I like to dig.
Have the thrift stores been good in Memphis?
Yeah, I don't really go to as many thrift stores. I should probably be more patient and do that. I'm just going to antique malls.
You are so good at like hunting down those antique malls. I mean, I know that there's, in the South, you could throw a stone and hit one.
Yeah. Well, I did have one week, I was excited to go down to the Delta and like hop, hop and skip and jump my way down. And I didn't find anything. It was, I mean, like what are the guys, Frank and I used to be obsessed with that show. What is it?
Frank and
Pickers. American Pickers.
yeah, what's the other guy's name?
I don't know. Mike and Frank.
Right, yeah.
I was obsessed with Mike and Frank. But yeah, I went to like one or two and I was thinking, oh, this is like all greasy, grease monkey,
Yeah.
just iron and metal and not for me.
Carburetor.
But Mike and Frank would have had a field day and they probably have been there.
What is your most prized family heirloom?
Oh my goodness. Like my grandmother was really obviously obsessed with antiques. She had two antique stores. And I think that like besides silver and things like that, she took note of everything that my uncles and my mother and then her grandchildren said or did that was like cute or funny. And so she made these books for her children that said, it was called You Said It. And then she made a second edition calling You Said It Too, like You Said It TOO also, but then You Said It Too, second version. And so I guess I know I'm going to start tearing up, but I haven't thought about this in a while. And there's a copy somewhere in one of these boxes to the side of me of this book. Or maybe hopefully both versions. Yeah. So Stacy.
So sweet, Dorothy. Oh my God.
It is so sweet. So she wrote down all, just all the stupid, cute stuff that 4-year-olds say. I know I'm going to start tearing up.
I love this. As a mom, I think about that all the time, and I'm so scared I'm going to forget these things, but who has time?
I know I'm that obnoxious friend that when like my friends tell me something cute that their kid said, I'm like, you wrote that down, right? You wrote that down. Because they're like, yeah, whatever. But as a grandchild that has like pages of silly stuff that I said, it's not about like what's funny that I said it or haha. It's that like she took the time to
Yes.
to preserve those memories
And
for
how
us.
much are your kids gonna love that she did that? I mean,
Yeah.
as a kid, you want to know all about your parents, and now they're gonna be able to say, like, oh, mommy used to say this funny thing. Oh my gosh, Dorothy, that is the sweetest thing I've ever
And
heard.
so, like my mom probably thinks like, oh, that wasn't good. Like I said something stupid and she like remembered it for forever. But yeah, I'm getting the napkin from my Panera Bread coffee this morning. But so anyway, yeah, I think that is somewhere in the bowels of these boxes. You said it and you said it too. And I think that is the most important because we, I whip out now that the version of that is I whip out my iPhone and like record and I'll be like, say it again. What'd you just say? And Johnny he'll just freeze and he won't say anything. But yeah, I think that's probably the most prized possession.
That is the sweetest. Well, congratulations, Dorothy. This is like my 6th or 7th Capital Vintage Charm School, I think, and I've yet to cry. So congratulations.
I made you cry.
It got me so good. It brought me to tears.
Oh, perfect. Well, that's how I like to end.
Well, Dorothy, today was so incredibly helpful. I honestly cannot thank you enough. I mean, all the different tips and being able to now have a little bit better of an idea when I'm looking at something on what I'm looking at is going to be incredibly helpful. So thank you.
Good. Yeah, and don't be afraid. I think that the number one thing to do is like, these people that run estate sales, they've seen it all.
Yeah.
And also the people that maybe not that, I'm kind of going back on what I was about to say. I was about to say ask them, but you might not want to tip them off that they might have something good, and because they're the ones that price those things.
Yeah.
But at an antique mall, they didn't price those things. One of their dealers did that just rents their booth. So the people up front, they've owned the place for 40 years. They have seen it all at an antique mall. So I wouldn't be shy asking them questions.
And like I said earlier, to everybody's each their own, right? There's a place in this world for all the different pieces.
Oh yeah, just because it's a print doesn't mean that like it's devalued. If you love it, you love it. I definitely have bought some hobby lobby art.
They have their place though, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, Dorothy, thank you. Everybody, this is Dorothy Collier, and then it's at Dorothy Art. Her tag's going to be down here. Her stuff is fantastic. Dorothy, thank you so much.
Thank you, Stacey. This is so much fun. And thank you so much for like bringing this conversation and this platform to all of us and make this community so much smaller. I love it. It's just such a great time.
Thank you.